Hi, all, and welcome to Monday night's All Metal Mode podcast with Gypsy, myself, Amanda Digger-Degas, and our special guest, Debby Magnin. Before we get started with the show, if you haven't checked out May's issue of Dirt Digest magazine, now's your chance. Go to dirtdigestmagazine.com and click on current issue. And I will actually put that in the chat, so it'll be easy to get to if you're in chat. And that's all we've got. So, hey Gypsy, how are you tonight?
Hey, I am doing great. How about you?
I am doing well. I am doing
awesome.
Really well. I mean,
you've been you've been able to get out, so that's really good.
Yes. So basically, since we talked last Monday, every day I have gotten out at least for an hour, and then I decided to take Friday off and a half day on Thursday, so I had a really long weekend and went out all Thursday afternoon and Friday. Been running around doing some other stuff. I help out family. So besides that, I've been metal detecting and river walking. So found some pretty cool things. I know on Tuesday I kicked it off with a V-nickel. So I don't have it cleaned up yet. Basically been...
So you don't know the date yet?
No, I don't. Basically just been digging, and I think my, my treasure holder is full, and I haven't cleaned anything up yet. So I started it off with that, and then ended the weekend this weekend at a friend's place that lives on a river that has a woolen mill. And I've been there once before, and I forget that the iron there still, that was part of the building, and the foundation stones are still there. It's a beautiful place, but yeah, the iron is pretty harsh. So this time I decided to detect a different area, and I was detecting a hill in the woods and had a really good signal and ended up digging a cone top. Those are beer cone tops, like 1930s, and dug around a little bit more because I was still getting a signal and realized I had found probably the fourth bottle dump on that property. So managed to save a few and figure I'll go back and do that on a different day because I really just wanted to metal detect. So.
Right. Sometimes you want to dump dig, and sometimes you want to just metal detect, and so it's, you just have those times. But now you've got a good place, it sounds like, to go. How far is that from where you live?
Only about half an hour, so it's not bad at all. Don't need to stop anywhere. I mean, we packed our own lunch, and yeah, it was good.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've been out testing the new Apex and getting familiar with that new machine and learning it, and now I've got some permissions lined up for the next 3 days. So I'm really excited about that and ready to get out there and put it to the test. One of the areas I'm going to is highly infested iron, like what you were talking about at that mill. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to test that out, with especially that iron audio volume control there. So see how it performs. So I will be letting y'all know.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, best of luck. That sounds like fun. Definitely keep us in the loop.
Definitely. So I'm excited to bring in our guest. You want to go ahead and introduce her?
Sure. So everyone, say hello to Debby Magnin.
Well, hello there. It's nice to meet you ladies, by the way.
Thank you. It's great to meet you. I've only heard about you through Corey Joe, which I had met her at the Charles Garrett Memorial Hunt, and I was looking for some people to have on. I'd asked Corey Joe, and she was heading over somewhere where she didn't have Wi-Fi at that time, and she said, "Just ask my friend Debbie," and so I reached out to you.
Yeah.
Going, the stranger over here
together.
asked me to.
Yeah, we've been together quite a few times detecting at the beach and some land hunts. So that was nice of her to recommend
that's wonderful. Me. Yeah, so really glad to have you on and learn more about you. And we hear you live in Florida right now. And where are you originally from? I'm
originally from the Philadelphia area, just outside of the city. So I kind of started as a dirt digger there with a little bit of the beach every now and then. And now I'm primarily a beach digger with a little bit of dirt every now and then.
Yes, it's funny how some of us will start out in different areas and it just kind of changes wherever we're living, It changed for me too. I went from learning more from beach and water hunting to where I live now, more land hunting and river and creek hunting here because the beach is a little further away, but I totally understand that. So how long has it been? When did you get started? How long have you been metal detecting?
Oh, I started about 13 years ago, and I guess for about the first 2 years, I was just kind of doing coin shooting, and then I moved to Florida. So, now I've given that up pretty much completely for the beach.
Wow. Right. Well, you got to go where, that's most accessible to you, and the beach is definitely.
And schools and parks are not very accessible here. The schoolyards are all locked up, so you really can't get into them to dig, and it's kind of hard to get private properties, So I'm not really good about asking permission to go on places, so I don't do a lot of that.
Hey, you're like me. Amanda, our co-host here, she's really good at getting permissions, and I'm learning from her, even though I've been metal detecting 22 years now, but it's still very hard for me to ask. I don't have a problem asking permission when I'm just meeting and talking to somebody, but it's when going up and knocking on a door, that's what I get that.
Oh, I would never do that.
It scares me to death.
Scares me. It's funny.
Well, Debbie, Amanda and I have a long list. Well, I say a long list. A list of questions. So I'm going to let Amanda get us started.
So when you were in near Philadelphia, how did you get into the metal detecting?
Well, probably back in the 80s, I had an interest in it and tried out somebody's metal detector in an old school area, and it was really trashy, and I guess I got discouraged and life kind of got in the way, and I forgot about it for a while. And then one day I was watching a TV show called Best Places to Find Cash and Treasures, and they did a show about metal detecting on the Treasure Coast of Florida. And so it kind of re-sparked my interest, and I started, getting on the computer, which wasn't quite as good as it is today for metal detecting things, but I managed to talk with somebody in one of the clubs in Florida, in fact, and, talk to him about what I should buy, and he recommended the Garrett Ace 250, which is kind of like used to be everybody's standard answer for, as a newbie, what should I buy? And so I started out with that and really just, did what everybody else does. I dug up my whole yard, first of all. I looked like gopher holes everywhere. And it only took, digging up a couple nails and I was hooked. So,
Nice.
yeah.
And what type of machine are you using now?
Well, I'm kind of back and forth between the Excalibur and the Equinox. I would say I'm using them 50-50 right now. If I'm in the dry sand, the wet sand, I prefer the Equinox. If I'm in the water, I prefer the Excalibur.
Nice.
But I have other machines, but they're the ones I mainly use.
What other machines do you have besides the two Mine Labs?
I ran an E-Track for a lot of years, and I gave that up when I got the Equinox, mainly because of the weight of it. And I really was using it only for dirt digging, and I don't do a lot of it. So when I would pick it up, it would be so heavy for me after not being used to using it. So that has a permanent home up in New Jersey at my niece's house, and when I'm up there, I use it a little bit. But I also have a TDI pulse machine for when I go to Virginia doing Civil War hunting. The dirt's pretty mineralized where I go, and so you really need to use a pulse machine there. And I have a Deus that I purchased from a friend of mine, but I can't say I'm very good with it yet. I've only used it a few times and kind of bought it as a backup machine because it's light and portable. So I think that's it. I don't know. I have too many, I think.
We all do.
Isn't it?
It is. You got to try out different machines and different machines for different things, and then you got to add different coils for different scenarios. So
I don't change coils. I've never really done a lot of that. I think when I had the Ace 250, I had a small sniper coil that because I used to do a lot of playgrounds, and I could do real close to the equipment with that. But I have found especially with the Equinox, that I can really hunt trash really well with that, with the stock coil. So I don't find the need for the smaller coil, and I don't want a heavier coil, a bigger one. So I just kind of stick with the stock coil.
Stock coil is pretty big, isn't it? On the Equinox,
yeah, it's big enough. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I know a lot of people that relic hunt use the larger coils, but honestly, I don't want to dig any deeper. That machine goes really deep.
Oh, man, I'm the same way. It's like everybody's going, how deep will that machine go? And I'm with that coil, and I'm like, as deep as you want to dig.
Exactly. Yeah, well over a foot, and that's enough.
Even sometime when I put on the smaller sniper coils, and especially with my match, with the depth on that machine, it shocks me sometimes with the little sniper coil. When I'm hunting old, homesteads up in that iron, how deep that little thing will go. It's like, oh my goodness, deeper than you want to dig sometimes, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's amazing with these newer machines and how fast the processors are that they can just get around that iron and find the good signals right next to the big piece of iron. It's pretty incredible.
It is incredible. Technology is just, I love it.
I found a cut quarter right next to iron, and, I'm still astounded that I was able to do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've detected a couple different states. Out of each state that you've detected, do you have a favorite?
Well, I can't really say I have a favorite state to detect in. I have a favorite place, and that's England. Virginia is very dear to my heart. I love going there. I love detecting there, but I hate the soil. it's so mineralized, and I don't love pulse machines. I just don't feel like because I only do it a couple times a year, I don't feel like I get proficient enough with hearing the sounds I need to hear. And so I like going there, but I'm frustrated when I go there too. You know what I mean? It's kind of this love-hate relationship. Yeah. I go more for the camaraderie and maybe the joy of finding one little, Civil War button or something. But my real love is detecting in England. I mean, that's just amazing.
And have you been a couple times now, or?
Yeah, about 12 years ago, I was on a forum. I think it's not around anymore. It was called Treasure Quest. And a group of us got together for a hunt. And through that, I made a friend in England. Her name is Anne. She might be listening tonight, but it's very late there. And we became good friends. She came over and visited me, and then I went over to visit her. And so I've spent quite a bit of time detecting with her over there, and also done last year with, I don't know if you ladies know Mindy Dessens. I think I pronounced it right. She runs trips over to England along like Chicago Ron, the kind of, those kind of trips. So I did one of those detecting trips with her last year for 2 weeks of solid sun up to sundown detecting. It was the most grueling thing I ever did in my life, but I loved it.
Wow. For Amanda and I, it's still kind of a bucket list thing to get to go to England. Amanda's one of the White field team members, and me is with Garrett now, and so we're hoping maybe later this fall, or hopefully before too long, we'll get to take a little trip over there to England, to Europe, and get to detect over there.
It's just incredible. Yeah. The stuff.
Really want to find
we can't even dream of it, of the things, that they find over there. Mm-hmm. They throw away things that we find here. I mean, when they find a tomback button, they say, "Oh, that's hedge fodder," and flick it in the hedges.
I've heard that. I've heard that too, with like the Roman coins that they'll just throw aside. Or I've just those, and anything that like we find the Victorian pieces, the brass, brooches,
right.
and that to them is the same thing. That's trash. I'm like, what?
Yeah. The copper coins from the 1800s. It's another greenie. They could care less about them, and we're so excited to get them.
What is the neatest thing that you think you like? Well, what is the coolest thing that you personally have enjoyed finding over there?
I found on my very first trip, so of course over there they don't consider you good at detecting unless you can find the hammered coins. They call them hammies. Mm-hmm. So I would keep finding these little things saying, "Oh, do I have a hammy?" And they'd say, "No, that's hedge fodder." And so this one day we were in a field that was just dead quiet. I mean, I think I had 5 targets the whole time we were there. And so I get this signal, and it just totally blasted my ears off. And I thought, well, typically, when something's that big and loud, it's usually not anything good. It's going to be a can or something. So I thought, well, I'm going to dig it because there's nothing else. I'm not digging anything. So I dig it up, and I find what looks like a sword piece. And I was really excited, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have a Roman sword. So I didn't want to say to them, "Is this a Roman sword?" They'd say, "No, it's hedge fodder." So I held it up and said, "What do you think?" And they said, I don't know if I can say it, bloody, you know what? And I was shocked. They said Bronze Age.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
wow.
like 3,500 years old or about that. So I have like a 6-inch piece of a Bronze Age sword. And the best part of the story is that my friend Anne went back to the field a year later and found the handle to it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And what she said was, you can see on my piece that it's perfectly cut on both ends. And apparently they used to cut them in 3 pieces and bury them as offerings to the gods. And so, she's got 1 piece and I have 1 piece, and the third one is still missing in action. So we did try to go back another time, but the field was under crop, so we didn't get a chance to detect there.
That's
amazing. But I don't think I'll ever get anything as neat as that again. That's just, to find something that old, it's just incredible.
That's epic.
Oh, your excitement when you held it up and they didn't say it was hedge fodder was probably through the roof.
And, I just lost my train of thought completely. No, it's gone. So on to the next question.
So that was a super exciting moment when you were over there in England. But I bet you've got maybe something really fun or some really fun story. Is there any other stories you'd like to share from your trip over there? Or you finally found a hammy, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I think that trip I only got 1 maybe. But and it was not even a British coin. It was a Spanish coin. I said it would figure I'd come here and not even get a British coin.
Wow.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. But this past year when I was over, we went on a field that had been known to produce a lot of hammies. They said they used to be a fairgrounds. So, money was everywhere, I guess. And we get on the field, and it looked really nice flat. So we were really excited. And I get on the field, and within about 10 steps, I find my first hammy. And I was really excited. I thought, boy, it's going to be a great day. And then a couple minutes later, the farmer comes screaming onto the field, "Get off of that field!" So we're like, what? Oh. Yeah, well, apparently he had leased the field from the landowner, and the landowner never told us that we weren't supposed to be on it.
Oh,
and he had sod planted, and boy, was he mad. Yeah, so, yeah.
Man.
Apparently, if it's not like in perfect rows, it ruins it. And we had, I don't know how many holes we had dug already. We probably had been there about 10 minutes, but yeah, he was not a happy camper.
Oh, goodness. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, so I know that not much can top finding part of a Saxon sword, but us as detectives, we usually get asked, what our favorite find is. Is there one here in the U.S. that's kind of like one of your top favorite finds that you found?
Oh, yeah. In fact, the promo that you did shows the ring that I found.
The ring, I saw
the ring. The ring.
The ring.
It's kind of what I'm known for. Gosh, I was still a newbie. I had just gotten my X-Cal, and this is almost 10 years ago now, I guess. Yeah, 10 or 11 years ago. There was a hurricane heading up the East Coast, and so, of course, I headed to the beach. We weren't really getting any rain or anything. We were just getting a lot of beach erosion, and I thought, I'm going to go find something. So, it was kind of like ants on the beach. Everybody was out there, and everybody I knew was detecting. So I stopped to talk to my one friend, Dan, for a few minutes, and he had a really, really nice diamond ring not that long before that. And I said, well, maybe one of us is going to get lucky today. And I walked away from him, and a couple steps later, I dig up a ring. And it just was huge and heavy, and I thought, there is no way this can be real. And I had seen rings just like it on the boardwalk the night before with cubic zirconiums, that were selling for about $50. And so I figured that's what I had. I looked in the ring. I didn't see any markings. I found my friend Dan. I showed him, and he said, I don't really think it's real. I mean, it doesn't, it looks too good. I said, yeah, you're right. So I wore it around for about a week on my pinky, loose, and was like flashing it in front of people, saying, aha, look what I found, joking about the cheap junk. And when I took it to the jeweler, his eyes popped open, and he said, you found this? I said, yeah, why? Is it good? He said, oh, my God, yeah. So I said, well, what do you think? He said, I think you need to have it appraised so you can get it insured. I said, what? Yeah. So
wow.
I think I was the third top find in Western and Eastern Treasures that year. Yeah.
Wow.
That was really exciting. So I kind of feel like I found the oldest thing I'll ever find and the most valuable thing I'll ever find at this point. I can't imagine topping either one of those.
Right.
But I'm trying.
I was going to say, I'm sure that won't stop you, though.
Oh, no. No.
That kind of leads us to your next question, or one of our questions we usually ask. I'm going to let Amanda ask it, because I just asked that question. So go ahead, Amanda. You know what I'm saying, I think.
Yeah. So do you have an item that would be considered like your white whale that you're hoping to find that you haven't found yet?
Oh, gosh. I don't really have a bucket list like most people do. If it came to digging in the dirt, I think I would love to find a flying eagle penny. As far as, the jewelry or beach finds, I think a really nice ruby ring would be nice. I have a nice emerald I found. I have a nice sapphire I found. I found an emerald with a tiny little chip in it, but I'd like to have a really nice one. So, yeah. And, of course, a gold coin. Ring. Who doesn't want one of those, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's still
have either of you had gold coins?
List.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't. No. Not yet.
A friend of mine got one.
Really?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, my one friend that I used to dig with all the time found one. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Wow.
So I was actually in the field where one was found when I was in England, and I got to see it and hold it, but I've never found one of my own.
Yeah, I can just imagine them over there as well.
Oh, yeah, but theirs are, like ours are milled coins, and theirs are the Celtic coins and the
staters.
Gold hammies. Yeah. They're pretty incredible. Yeah. They're if you ever have seen them, first of all, they're so tiny. Like, they're the size of our maybe half dimes. They're real tiny, and they are the most beautiful coins you can ever imagine.
Wow.
Just, the artistry in the coin is amazing. Right.
And there's just some coins that are just beautiful. I mean, they're a work of art, just the artwork that goes into them.
That's true.
So you mainly do beach hunting and water hunting now because of the accessibility. Would you find yourself more surf in the surf hunting, or more of a wet sand, minus tide, low tide hunter? Or
if the water is calm, I'm in. I prefer to be in the water. My better finds have come from in the water. Although I've done pretty well in the wet sand as well. But yeah, I like to be out. It's just, I don't know, it's relaxing too. I like to be in the water and just swinging away, swinging and digging.
Right. Now, one of my favorite things when I lived in Galveston was to night hunt on a full moon.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever done that?
No.
In Florida?
No, because mostly I hunt by myself down here.
Oh, and,
yeah, I won't go out at night by myself. And I have a friend who's trying to convince me to go at night, but first of all, I wouldn't go in the water at night.
I
won't even go in the water in the early morning.
Yeah, I was the same way. At night, I might go right there at the water's edge, and kind of let it run over my feet. But
we have sharks.
Sharks and stingrays and all that fun stuff. Yeah. But
now, I'm too afraid to be out there. Like one time in England, I hunted the beach at night with my friend, a guy over there, and it was a little scary, even though it was lit enough that I could see what I was doing, but not if he got far away from me and I couldn't see him. I was a little nervous because there were other people around, and I'm just too nervous, Nellie, to do that, I guess. I didn't like it.
Yeah, we were discussing that. I think it was just last week, or I don't even remember anymore. Amanda and I talked about so much on here, but us as women, it's a little different, to go out hunting by yourself a lot. And we both do it occasionally and get out on our own and hunt, but it's so much better and safer if you've got a hunting buddy, hunting partner. So
absolutely. In fact, when I go out in the water here, when I go in the water, I'll go by myself. I mean, I'm always by myself, but I don't go in the water until there's somebody else around, because it's, I don't want anything to happen where there's no one within earshot of me.
Right. That's smart.
Yeah.
I know that when I lived in Galveston, and I don't know, I didn't notice it when I've hunted in Florida. I go down to Florida every summer and water hunt and beach hunt, but maybe y'all do have this too, but I've hunted in the water where the beach was, it was crowded, and my family was up on the shoreline, and I just walked right into this huge drop-off hole.
And it could happen.
I had to use my long-handled scoop, or I would have probably just sunk to the bottom and drowned.
Right.
Because, you have the waves hitting you as well to knock you down. So when I was down in this hole, I think what saved my life was pushing off that bottom until I got out of that hole with my long-handled scoop. I didn't know if you'd encountered anything like that while you were in Florida or not.
Actually, I have not had it happen here, but I was in the Caribbean one time, and I kind of got a little bit over my head, and I panicked. Like you said, you're like pushing with the scoop, trying to get out. It was a little scary.
Right.
Another friend of mine who's a water hunter recommended having, I don't know what they're called, but it's kind of like a floaty thing that you just pull the cord and it'll inflate on you. And I've never gotten one, but it's probably not a bad idea.
I've been thinking about investing in one of those too, because I actually looked those up not too long ago. Some of them are pricey, some of them not as pricey, but that's definitely something. And I hunt rivers a lot here, and creeks, and sometimes you get into some deep spots. So,
ours is pretty. I can tell usually where the drop off is.
Right.
And it's not
right.
a big drop off. Usually it's very, just a little tiny thing. You get used to your own beaches and what they're like. But yeah, in the Caribbean, it was just like, whoop, there it was. I got out.
Right.
But,
it is scary.
I mean, I can swim, but I didn't want to drop my detector.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You got
the detector.
Your detector. You've got a detector in one hand and you've got your scoop in the other.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. You don't want to lose either one of them.
Trying to swim, you can't swim. So
you can't swim. That's
sure.
right. Yeah, I was trying to figure out a way to get over that gully and out to like a sandbar area. And I thought, I wonder if I can get a floaty and put the detector and the scoop on the floaty and sort of swim out to the sandbar.
You could. You totally could do that. I saw someone make something a while back, and what they did is they took, like the little styrofoam, the kind of floaty that you kick out,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of you can ride the waves and stuff with them. They cut out the middle and put a mesh in the center for like a net. And you could swim out there with that and then use that to dump some of your sand in to help on recovery too. Just a thought and thought to you. So,
good idea.
I thought that was a pretty neat idea. I may have to try that too.
Yeah, great idea.
So I know Amanda's got another question for you.
Yes. Do you do any other types of treasure hunting, like estate sales or bottle dump digging, arrowhead hunting?
Not really. No, I can't say I really do. I used to do yard sailing a little bit more, but I've kind of gotten away from that. Trying to pare down things, and it's really hard to when you go to yard sales and you're bringing more things home. Yeah,
it is. So no bottle dump digging or anything like that.
No, I've been in situations where I've done a little bit of other kinds of things. Being along the river and kind of mudlarking, that kind of thing. But no, I've really never gotten into any of the other types of treasure hunting. I've thought about privy digging because I've metal detected at a couple of my ancestors' houses, and I thought, I'd love to do their privy, So, I talked to people I know that do it, and I thought maybe we could go try and do that, find their privies. And in that regard, I have an interest in it, but I've never really done it.
Right. That's definitely a fun thing to get into. Where you live, too, a lot of people. One of our people in chat, David, said dumpster diving. And I used to dumpster dive when I lived in.
I've done that over the years too. Trash picking is what we call it.
Really? Yeah, I miss that. I really do. I got to where my boys. When I lived in Galveston, I got a friend of mine. I got her into metal detecting, and she joined our metal detecting club, and so she got me. And I was into it as a kid. My dad would take us down the alleys, and we would dumpster dive and stuff. But when I got older, I didn't do it until I met this friend, and I got her into metal detecting, and then she got me back into it. And we would drive down the alleys, and we'd have the kids all in the car, and they're like, "Oh, look, Mom, pull over, go there." And I've
heard that when the kids leave college, that's the time to go dumpster diving because they put all their stuff out at the end of the semester.
That's a smart idea, for sure. Magnet fishing is another thing that a lot of people are getting into. I'm hearing that too.
No, just the metal detecting. I'm afraid I'll get hooked on something else if I try something else.
Exactly.
One obsession is enough, I think.
It's enough to keep you busy, that's for sure.
For sure. And I'm glad I have it because, especially with the quarantine, if I didn't have metal detecting, I would have gone absolutely stir crazy. I was quarantined up in New Jersey, and we went out digging about 3 or 4 days a week, and thank goodness. It was
Wow,
great.
wow. Did you find any neat things while you were in New Jersey?
I had a couple of interesting things. I found a vintage silver pin from the Philippines, and it's got a little house and palm trees and has Philippines written on it. And I found what the heck was it? Like something you'd put on a flag, I think, a flag holder, and it was from a particular military institute. And I got some silver coins, which I never see down here, so that was really fun. Just some quarters and dimes, but silver's good in my opinion. But that's about it. Yeah. Yeah. Did a lot of coin shooting, in parks and schoolyards and stuff. But it's good to hone the skills that way. I got really good with the equinox in real trashy areas, so I was glad.
That's awesome. I had a question. Amanda, do you have a question for him? My mind just went.
So you lost your train of thought too, huh?
I totally lost it.
So being on the beaches, have you gotten like calls or asked for help to do any recoveries of like rings?
Oh, I do a lot of recoveries. Yeah. In fact, I didn't get called for it, but I just returned a cell phone yesterday that I found. But the lady called me about an hour ago. She was so ecstatic that I found her phone because it had like messages from her late husband on it, and she was so sweet. But there's some Facebook groups that now they know that I go and do recoveries. So as soon as somebody posts that they lost a ring, they'll just tag me on it, and I'll go out looking. I probably do about half a dozen recoveries over the summer. Summer's busier, even though it's funny because our busy season is January through April, but I guess because people are swimming more in the summer, I get a lot more recoveries. So, yeah, that's fun to do. I like it. Or if I'm on the beach, somebody will come running up to me, telling me they lost something. One day I was up in about neck deep water detecting, and I see this lady like patting her chest. And she's looking at me with her eyes real wide open. And I said, "Did you lose something?" She said, "My bracelet. I stuck it down in there so I wouldn't lose it, and it floated out." So, I just looked around a little bit. It was right by where she was standing. I found it, but I was already in neck deep water, and it was out in a little bit deeper water. So I could find it with my detector, but I couldn't get it with my scoop. So I said to her, "I have it here. I have found it." So her husband was swimming there, so he went down, dove down to the end of my detector and found the bracelet. It was just like a bangle bracelet. But I thought, really, she put it down in the top of her suit to keep it safe.
Oh, my.
Oh, geez. Yeah. It's so funny because people see me coming and they're checking their earrings and their necklaces and their rings, right? Another guy says to me, "Can you find metal with that?" I said, "Yes." "Any kind of metal?" "Yeah." "Well, I lost my ring." I said, "Well, I can find it." "Nah, don't bother. It's just a tungsten ring." Well, I wanted to say, "You're right. I shouldn't bother." But it was right under his feet too. When somebody loses it and they're right there. It's real easy to find it. Yeah. So that happens all the time.
Well, yeah, when I lived in Galveston on the beach, I can't even tell you how many times people would also, their keys, they would be getting ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I lost it over here somewhere, I think.
Yeah, but they're not sure. When people aren't sure where they lost it, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what makes it extra hard right there.
I've gotten
one day I was, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just got one that I've been trying to find. Now that I've asked more questions, it was lost in the middle of winter before a big snowstorm. The parking lot's been plowed. Yeah. I'm like, I'll still, it's a place I technically already hunt anyway. So I'm like, I'll definitely keep an open eye for it. But yeah, I don't know. I think someone probably got a nice Christmas present.
Yeah, or if you go where the snow plows push the snow.
Yep.
I've heard that's a good spot, right along the edge there.
Yeah, I've searched for 2 weeks now in all of the snow piles, except for I need to ask a neighbor because I noticed he might have pushed it towards somebody else's house, and that pile is now on their property, so I need to, it's the only last place, so, but.
Right. Well, good for you for being persistent.
Yeah. It was a volunteer, she's helping, and to have lost it, I feel really bad. So, yeah. But now that I've asked more questions, I'm like, how many months ago did you lose it? I thought it was relatively recent, but it's okay.
Oh, on our beaches, if somebody tells me they lost something a couple days ago, I think, oh no, the chances are it's gone already. But I've been lucky. A couple people have lost things, and a few days later, I've found them for them.
Oh, that's great.
One was actually in the water for a couple of days, and I went and looked once, but I didn't know kind of the exact area. And then I went back when she pinpointed me a little closer to where she was, and I couldn't believe I found it. I was just about to give up after a couple of hours, because that's like looking for a needle in the haystack when you're out in the water. Right. And who knows, it could sink so deep you'd never find it anyway.
And the waves are constantly moving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everything gets moved around and covered. And I was going to tell you this story about, I was in Punta Cana. I went to one of those all-inclusives with my cousins, and I was out on the beach. Usually I go real early in the morning before people come out, or I'll go later in the day. But I don't know, it must have been out. It seems like it was the middle of the day because there were a lot of people in loungers. And I see these guys, like, you know how they do. They laugh, they look, and they point, and they laugh at you because you look so goofy. And I just thought, let them laugh. I go on my way. And then this lady runs up to me. Oh, I lost my diamond earring. Can you help me? And this was right next to these guys in the lounger. So she brings me to a spot. I said, when did you lose it? Oh, 4 days ago. And it's this tiny little earring, almost stud size. And I actually found it, and I was shocked because there was a lot of trash, little bits of foil and stuff. And because I don't know, there's always little bits of champagne tops, the foil from the champagne bottles all over the beaches there. And I found it. She was all excited and hugging and kissing me, and I thought, I'm glad these guys saw what they were laughing at and then saw me recover this, because too often you get giggled at when you're on the beach, You look so silly.
Right.
That's one thing I tell my friends about this hobby. You have to really get over the way you look, because you're never going to look good doing it.
Yep, I can still remember those days of water hunting and the way I looked, and I detected with my second child in the water till the day before my youngest son was born.
Oh my gosh!
So,
wow.
So yeah, I got some crazy looks back then.
I'll bet. Yeah, I mean, you get crazy looks anyway.
Yeah.
When you think you look pretty normal.
Yeah.
I don't think we look normal with the boots on and, Yeah.
Right.
The headphones.
Yeah.
People look at you like you're crazy or you have two heads or something. And I just say, well, have you never seen anybody metal detecting before? And they say, no. Or usually they say, not in the water. That's usually what they say. They'd never seen anybody in the water doing it. And a woman at that. I mean, there's so few women that water detect. I rarely see any women in my area. So I guess we're really anomalies.
That's for sure. I know when I started 22 years ago and I lived in Galveston, I was the only woman there that was in the water. And so, I got those weird looks and weird stares and laughs and all that. But after a while, you're like, who's laughing now, when you're digging rings like what you dug. And when I found my first platinum wedding band with 7 diamonds in it, it's like,
I say, well, they won't be laughing when they lose their stuff and have to come to us to find it.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Well, that'll be the end of that laughing.
So, is there ever a find that you found that was just really weird or strange or, one of those things that makes you go, what is this? Or just something really off the wall. Do you have anything like that you've ever found?
Well, the weirdest thing I ever found on the beach was I dug up, it looked like a paper cup that was wrapped in duct tape. Now, you wouldn't think duct tape would have enough metal in it to ring up, but it did. And on the duct tape was a little message about how Mr. Frog was such a good pet. I don't remember the exact words, but I guess I had dug up Mr. Froggy's grave.
Oh,
yeah, that's kind of the weirdest thing I ever found. Yeah, but I was doing a farm not too long ago. It was during the quarantine, and the person that owned the farm said, well, did you find any chicken blinders? I said, chicken blinders? I wouldn't know what a chicken blinder was if I tripped over it. So I said, we did find a lot of this little thing. I didn't get to show him what it was because we were afraid to get too close to each other. But so when I came home on the Facebook page ID Me, the next day I saw somebody posted, what are these things? And everybody said chicken blinders. Yeah. I said, well, now I know what chicken blinders are.
Is that what you found?
For little chickens. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Lots of them.
Yeah.
I didn't know why there was such a thing or that there even was such a thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learn
something new every day. Yeah, we do. We do. I never had an interest in history until I got into this hobby. And
same.
Yeah.
Same.
Really makes you, think about what happened and who held that item in their hand and what the history behind it was.
Right. Now, in your Facebook, your photo, I see the pyramids behind you. So have you been to Egypt? I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, I went to Egypt last year. Just something I had wanted to do since I was a little girl. And boy, did I want to metal detect there.
I bet I would be like dying to metal detect there.
I know.
There's this old photo of Charles Garrett in Egypt, metal, in front of, and I've been meaning next time I talk to Vaughn, I've got to ask him about that because I think he took the photo of that, of his dad there in Egypt with him in that detector. So I need to
that would be incredible. Everybody said to me, well, did you get the detector over there? I said, no, I think they would arrest me if I even took the detector into the country. I didn't even think about it.
Probably.
And I literally do take it everywhere else I go, but I did not even think about taking it with me. Yeah, I know. People, why? You take your detector with you? Well, yeah, wouldn't you?
Right.
You might have a chance to use it.
You just never know when the opportunity will arise.
That's right. That's right. And if you didn't have it, then you'd be kicking yourself. So you have to take it.
Exactly.
Yep. I did a trip to Australia and New Zealand and Fiji, and I took my detector with me. I had just gotten the Equinox. I only used it one time, so I really didn't have a clue what I was doing with it. But I knew I was going to be at a beach resort for 3 days in Fiji. So I said, that detector is going with me. And I didn't have time in Australia or New Zealand to use it, but because I was on a tour. But in Fiji, I got on the beach, and the security guys said they had never seen one on the beach there. So I thought, I'm going to wipe up here. But the conditions were just like the opposite of what you'd want. The dry sand was down to the like hard ground, and the wet sand was soft and mushy. So, it was exact opposite conditions, but I still managed to get 2 gold rings that day. Those 2. Well, I couldn't believe it because it was, talk about champagne foil. It was everywhere. And
no.
Now, everything was ringing up 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. And I'm just not going to dig this foil. I can't dig every piece of foil on this beach. And then I got a signal, and it was at 8, but I thought, this doesn't sound the same. And sure enough, it was a gold ring.
Wow.
Yep, so managed to get 2, but I think, I didn't get in the water either. I only did the dry and the wet sand. I can't remember why. I didn't want to carry anything else I needed, to take with me to go in the water. So
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
But that was fun. Brand new machine, 2 gold rings.
Can't beat that.
Can't beat that. That's right.
That one of the most. So you've taken your detector with you just about everywhere, and you've been to Europe and Fiji. Is there any other place that sticks out that you might have taken your detector that?
No, not really. There's, that's, really. I go to England about maybe every other year, and most of the other trips I go to other places are tours. So I can't always use it. Rarely do I have the time to use it when I'm on those kind of things. But I knew I would have the chance in Fiji, being on the beach.
Right.
Egypt would have been really nice.
Yeah.
And the Caribbean, of course. I go to the Caribbean a lot on cruises.
Yeah.
And
right.
I always take it there.
Me too. Mike had said that, he was saying in chat, has anyone ever dreamt of, dreamed at night that you're detecting in Egypt? He said he has.
Isn't it funny how we have our little detecting dreams? I dreamed I had this carpet of coins that I was just digging up one after another.
Right. It kind of brings us to our next question. Before we close out to our last question that we like to end with, Amanda, you want to ask that next question?
Sure. So, Debbie, if you could dress up and have superhero powers of a certain superhero, who would you be and why? While you're metal
Oh
detecting,
my
that
God.
is.
Yeah, and you're asking somebody who hates to dress up for Halloween or anything like that. I'm not into superheroes. Like honestly can't even hardly think of any other than Superman. But are there any that have like the powers to see through things? Because I'd like to be able to see through the ground, and that would make it a lot easier to find my gold coin or my jewels.
Right. Well,
that's a terrible answer, I'm sure, but
no. Superman and Supergirl both have that power, where they can see through. That
I guess I would dress up if I had that ability.
Right.
You could also do what Doctor Who and then travel back and forth through time. So, like, you find an item and figure out the date and then go back to that time.
Oh, right. Yeah, you see them lose it in that time, and then you come back to now and dig it up.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. That would be great. Oh.
Well, I like that. I never thought of that, but yeah, we've talked about that many times on here about being able to time travel real quick or be able to see back in time, where you're detecting what it looked like back then.
Oh, look, they buried a hoard of coins.
Yes.
Right there.
I know exactly where that is now. Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
funny.
Debbie, it's been a pleasure having you this evening and having you on, and we'll definitely have to get you back on again. But if people want to find you, you're on Facebook. You're a part of a special group on Facebook. You want to tell folks listening about that?
Oh, well, for the ladies who are listening, Chicks Dig It is one of the Facebook groups that I'm on. It's a nice group of women diggers on there. And, I'm on too many to mention, but since Corey Joe mentioned me to you, I'll mention our group. Chicks Dig It.
Yeah,
it's been great talking with both of you as well. And I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Awesome. It's fun talking about our favorite subject, isn't it?
Yes.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time we bore people who have no interest, right?
Right. Well, it's definitely been a pleasure, and hopefully, who knows, maybe we can dig together when I come to Florida next time or something.
Oh, I'd love that. Sure, let me know.
Okay, definitely. And I know that Corey Joe was trying to get another dig together in Florida. So maybe we can get Amanda way down south, down here, and get her to come dig with us in Florida.
Absolutely. Yeah, love to get together.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, and thank you all that are listening, and we appreciate you, and you all have a wonderful night, and happy digging.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.